I'm gonna unpack some emotional things, and I'm sure lots of you will be able to relate to it in different ways. Okay, let's do this. I come from a very safe and very loving home, but my experience outside of that was quite different. School was complete torture for me. 13 years of constantly being made fun of. Of course, I was clever, I was artistic, I was overweight. Perfect target. Naturally, I put up a front at some point. I used humor to deal with a lot of things. And when I'd go home, I'd kind of retract into my own creative imagination. I wanted to be as far away from that reality as possible. So one could say my self-confidence was pretty much non-existent. And the little confidence I did have was fake. Don't get me wrong, I had friends. I had great friends, and I made more great friends once I left school. But to be quite honest, the damage had been done. While my family was so wonderful about me coming out as gay and had absolutely no issues with it, entering the gay world felt like moving into battle. What I'd always thought was going to be a very accepting and supportive community, in my experience, turned out to be the exact opposite. I lost count of how often I was made to feel like I wasn't enough. Like I wasn't enough to deserve love. Don't get me wrong, I met some really wonderful people in the gay community as well. However, if your self-worth is so low to start with, you always choose to believe the wrong people. And even though somewhere in my head I knew that it was all bullshit, I started believing it myself as well. I ended up making myself smaller and smaller, apologizing for myself all the time. Even when I was in relationships and everything seemed fine, there was always that little voice at the back of my head saying, you should consider yourself lucky. So it was really difficult for me to enjoy it and let myself fall. While I put a lot of effort into my work and excelled professionally, my self-worth shrank more and more. But I also knew I couldn't hold anyone else accountable and that it was up to me to change it. I just didn't know how. Of course, I started to attract a whole lot of people into my life who had no business being there. And even though I knew deep down in my core that these people were not right for me, I did not have the confidence to trust that feeling, and I would change myself to fit with them, like a wrong puzzle piece that you end up forcing into the little sockets. And there is nothing as self-deprecating as hiding who you are and what you believe in just to make someone else like you, just to make someone else feel happy, just to make someone else feel like they have the power. I mean, what? Putting energy into being someone you're not is tiring, y'all. Damn. And constantly I would be confronted with people who would try and hold me down. And that's something that I really hate. I was in a relationship and now and again, we'd argue. For some reason, these arguments became very emotional for me because that's when I started realizing that I had these hands on top of my head that would push me down. And I remember we were sitting in his lounge and I was pleading my case. All of a sudden, he goes, shh, calm down, not so loud. And those of you who know me know I don't get loud. And even if I did, let me be loud if that's how I can authentically express myself in that situation. And don't worry about being uncomfortable and that your neighbors might hear that your life isn't perfect. I know there are so many of you out there who know this. Being discredited for being emotional sucks. It made me believe even more that there obviously was something fundamentally wrong with me. And when you think there is something fundamentally wrong with you, what do? You start comparing yourself to other people. And I don't know about you guys, but comparing myself to other people has really screwed me over many times. That's insecurity city. Looking at other people's success, their beauty, their wealth, the fact that they seem to have everything figured out. Well, social media obviously doesn't help with that. Platforms like Instagram are designed to make you feel bad about yourself, because Instagram, for the most part, is a gallery of illusions. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of posting illusions. Does it make me happy? Not at all. It's tiring. Many of us post versions of ourselves that we would like to be, but we're really not. And will never be, because we're busy worrying about the illusion we put out there instead of actually doing something. But still, obviously, I let it affect me. Comparisons are so dangerous, especially in the entertainment world. You're always comparing yourself to others. You're always comparing your success to others. And guys, it's bullshit. You do you, and that's all you need to do. In the gay world, it really feels like to be a part of it, to be somebody and not just air, you have to, have a great body, you have to have lots of money, be successful, be outgoing. So in comparing myself to people who exude that, not even saying that that's reality, I look at myself in the mirror and all I see is an unattractive, complete failure. Having been told numerous times that I'm ugly, fat, boring, etc. It starts to become part of your thought process. And here's the problem. Nobody, not your mom, your dad, your sister, your gran, not even your best friends can convince you otherwise. And why? Because you have to believe yourself, first of all. And coming back to comparing yourself, can I just say, you never know whom you're comparing yourself to. For all you know, that person could be crazy as hell, and you are busy comparing yourself to someone who is a cuckoo. In comparing myself to other people, I started believing that other people were comparing me to other people as well. So maybe I'd meet someone I really, really liked, but of course my inner voice would say, fat chance. Surely he'd prefer that guy. And anything else, so you, would just be to settle. Stop! Because I can't go on like this. The moment I start thinking that someone is settling for me, alarm bells everywhere. Last memory of former self gone. Poof! And I realize that I have to start rethinking some things. First of all, no one will ever settle for me because this is first prize, y'all. I choose to stop believing people who don't know me. I choose to stop believing people who have not earned the time to hear my story. I choose to stop letting people criticize me and disguising their criticism as feedback. I choose not to be worried about fulfilling social requirements that I don't even need to fulfill in the first place. I choose not to compare myself to anyone, and in turn will not compare other people either. But I will continue to live with empathy and compassion towards others. I will not be dismissed by anyone who's not willing to meet me at eye level, but I will let them go. Here's the thing, if you only want to live on the surface of things, the view is great, the view is fantastic, it's all beautiful, but when a storm comes, you have nowhere to take shelter and you will just blow away. I will not let my mistakes define me. In the words of Maya Angelou, if I'd known better, I'd have done better. I mean, there's nothing to apologize for. And most importantly, I will not let fear rule over the way I experience joy. My mom once said to me, it's better to love again and again and again, than to be too careful to get hurt. So yes, I have a bit of a beaten and bruised heart, but aren't those the best? This is the work I have to do, and I'll tell you what, I still have a really long way to go. I'm still full of insecurities, and it's really difficult for me to look in the mirror and love what I'm seeing. But I get it now. I get what my path is, and I understand that I have to walk it alone. Everyone has to walk this path alone. But that doesn't mean you can't have cheerleaders on the side, or be a cheerleader for someone else at the same time. I very often wish that I'd spoken about these things sooner. I think it's really difficult to speak about these things when you're young because you don't really want that kind of attention. Well, I didn't. As I grew older, of course, it became more difficult to talk about it. And because you can't always really identify what you're feeling and what's going on, it's really difficult to put it into words. But not anymore. I can put it into words now. And I will continue to do so. I will continue to show up in the arena, as Brené Brown says, and I will walk this path wholeheartedly. So there are many topics I want to talk about on this journey, like self-love, love, relationships, identity, image, spirituality, shame and vulnerability, the way we feel them. So I will be bringing out more videos on that in the future because really this also helps me think about a topic and think about how that relates to me. So if you want to join me on this journey, I would be so thrilled. If you've got anything you want to say, anything you want to tell, any stories, please message me and let's start talking. So that's it from me. I'm Julian. Peace.